So for today, our Manly Man project is going to be putting in a generator feed line into the house system. Since now I have all the things to do it properly, you couldn't get them before the hurricane hit, and nothing was happening, and I did run a feed through my plasma cutter line, which was a 40 amp number 8 wire heavy duty line with an RV hookup, which is a locking box that went to it. So that wasn't a bad setup, but not quite legal as far as with a main breaker and everything. So what we're going to do here, I've already drilled the hole in the wall, and I've put the flexible conduit in there, and this box this is a generator box, which will hook up outside where the extension cord, not compressor, the generator cord will go to. So what we got to do today is we got to put this interlock setup in here, and this'll go, it'll go this way, and what it does is it won't allow you to turn the main on if the power is coming in from here. So this is a legal way to lock out the main so that you don't fry any linemen or hurt anybody. And we also have to replace the one breaker at the bottom, a 220 volt 30 amp breaker that will supply the panel with voltage. So I have to move all these up two steps to get the room down here so I can put the interlock in, which means I've got to pull this panel off. I'm going to do the interlock first, and then we'll go into wiring it up. I will shut the mains down for this. I'm moving all these breakers, and leaving the power on would be fairly suicidal. So it's always best to shut the power off when doing electrical work. And what we'll be running is this twisted 10 gauge 4 wire line, and it's just going outside the wall, so it's not going to be a very long run at all. And that's it. That will get us our electric feed and generator all nice and legal and done up. So we'll continue on after I get a feed down. The panel has been fitted with the interlock, and that's done all nicely, deburred the holes, and little blue Loctite that they give you with a kit. They also give you a drill bit. Yeah, well, for $65, I sure as heck hope so. They ought to send an electrician with us for that price, but got the 2 other panels knocked out for the raising of the breakers, and I have raised the breakers, and I did turn the power off. I turned it back on again so I could see what I'm doing, but all the breakers are now up one, except for the plasma cutter, which is a very big wire, and it doesn't have a lot of room to go up a lot higher. So I left it where it was, but all the rest of them I staggered, and now we've got our new 220 30 amp right here. So it's right above the breaker. Now if you have a panel that's upside down, or right side up, mine's upside down. Usually the main breaker's up top for some reason, I don't know. But it just, take the instructions and just turn them upside down. That's all there is to it. So while I was in here moving everything, I made sure all my connections were tight. I did find for the plasma cutter that one was a little loose. So yeah, but that is a stranded wire, which I really don't like stranded wire, but I got that at a very good price for number 8. I prefer using solid core. It can carry a better load, and you know, it's not quite as thick either. The same gauge will be smaller in a solid copper. So now that we've done that, I've started on the outside and marked my box off where it's going to go. And the box is out here. Like I said, I've got my conduit already run. I've marked off where the box is going to go, and that way the conduit will have a nice easy bend to it with a 90-degree angle coming off the bottom, so this conduit won't take a very tight turn. I don't like getting wires into a very tight angle, and I didn't want to put a box here, like one of these boxes. You know, it's just a little bit of overkill for that short of a run. So I'm not pulling wire very far at all, you know, just a few feet, if that. So onward and forward. All right. So now we've got the conduit all done. A little bit of caulking around the hole there. It's very tight. And we've got the wiring done for the receptacle. Now I had to go out and I had to get a straight fitting there to go in, because this 90 degree, it was too narrow to have the 10-4 wire go through it. It just didn't want to go through there, and it would have been a really nasty fit, and the wires do need to be a little bit loose, so you know, I had to get a straight one. But the kit came with one straight and it came with one 90, so that was 7 feet of conduit line with the two ends, and I think it was $7, so that wasn't bad. And the straight end that I got today was I think $1.39, so no big deal, except having to make another trip to the store. So anyway, I'm going to put the box together now, and then we'll go into the panel. Okay, we got power all hooked up, although the main is off. But let's see, it's going to reflect. The two 110s are hooked up to the breaker, and the yellow and green right there, I don't know if you can see it, should be right there. They're on the same bus bar. This panel has a bridge going from one side to the other. If you don't have a bridge going from one side to the other, then your neutral or ground is going to have to be hooked up on one side and the neutral on the other. In this case, where you have a bridge, it doesn't matter what side you're hooking you know, the neutral and the ground up to. That'll work just fine. So I didn't have any open receptacles there. Well, I had a couple behind the main feed, which I'm not going to loosen that up and mess around with it, but you know, it could have come in from the bottom, but I'm not going to mess around with the 3 wires that are coming in from the main line. So you know, always be careful of the live wires. Your panel may be dead, but these 3 wires down here at the bottom of that breaker, those are live. Those are coming through your meter. So if you want to disconnect those, pull your meter. But if you're not comfortable doing this kind of work, don't do it. I've wired up complete businesses, shops, machine shops, auto repair shops from scratch. And everything I do is up to code. I check the code, see if anything changed, but this is very basic electric. So again, you know, be careful when you're messing with this type of electric. You will get an afro. I mean, unless you're black, but maybe you'll get a straightened out hairdo. I don't know. But yeah, it's nothing to fuck around with, man. All right, so I'm going to continue on. I'm going to put the panel back on it and make sure that my lockout interlock works. And then I'm going to put power to everything again. Go outside with a voltmeter check my connections and see that I'm getting all the proper feeds, which, yeah, you know, I mean, I will be, but it's nice to double check. Alright, onward. Well, that's it. Okay, the tie straps are put around the bottom two breakers, which are both 220s, or if you have 120s over here, it'll be 3 breakers, whatever. The interlock is installed. As you can see, you can not turn one off or on with the other one on. This has to be off, then that slides out of the way, then this can be turned on. Vice versa, this is on, you cannot turn this on. All the warning stickers have been put in on the panel, on the breakers, and on the wiring, and also another caution sticker on the panel door. And that about does the inside panel. Everything is working properly. We have power and voltage out here. The box is now mounted. So we've got an inlet box. Boom, there it is. Wiring going through. Now the only thing I need to finish up doing is caulking around here and getting all this concrete dust off of here. I'll take the blowgun and just blow it off, get the vacuum inside, and that's it. So that's the legal way of doing it. Now, a lot of times people say, well, you need a switching box, and actually with the interlock, you do not need a switching box. So you can save that money, but a switching box is just a sub panel, and you know, that's a lot of wiring and a lot of work and a lot of money. So this will work just fine. It'll run the house. Of course, it won't run the big AC, or it won't, you know, run a hell of a lot more load than 30 amps. So, which is good because the generator is also rated at 30 amps. So, that would conclude this. And like I said, man, you know, if you're not comfortable doing this kind of thing, don't do it. But this is the way that you do it. And, you know, of course, all the precautions need to be taken. You're dealing with some hellacious electric. Anyway, so that's our manly man project for the day. That was nice, kind of relaxing, except for having to run to the hardware store to get one fitting. But yeah, it's getting hot now, and time to call it a day. So, all right, gentlemen, I hope that helped somebody. And if you live in a place where generators are required, you know, don't go that dryer route feedback. I mean, in an event of an emergency, yeah, you know, but they do call it a suicide cord for a reason. And, you know, God help you if you catch fire, if you don't have the right extension cord, or, you know, you made your cord wrong. It's really not worth it, you know. And I'll show you real quick here what I had before. This is the RV hookup for my plasma cutter, and as you can see, this is some very, very thick, heavy cable. And then that box is over here, and it is a locking box. So you know, when you get it down and the thing is in there, this comes down and then locks in. So, you know, you can't pull anything out or whatever. And that's what I used to run it before. Plus, there's also a disconnect here, you know, in case there's any problem. These are all things that, you know, that's for my equipment, basically. But with a number 8-4, you know, wire and a 50 amp breaker, it was a little overkill, actually. And the 50 amp breaker wasn't a good thing, because, you know, that wouldn't have snapped at all. The compressor, the generator would have had to, I keep saying that, it would have had to breaker on it and those generally don't do that great of a job. You know, you fry the generator before the breaker hits sometimes. So that's it. All right, gentlemen. Have a good one. I did want to mention one other thing. Now, as far as the cost of this, I have about $150 into material on this, and everything is, you know, the UL rated, the proper stuff. The most expensive two items were the power inlet box, which was $58, and then that stupid little interlock kit, which was $65. And the rest of it was just the wire and conduit and, you know, ends. And I had the tap cons here. I always have a, you know, bunch of tap cons on hand anyway. And my sister-in-law, just before the hurricane, about a week before, paid an electrician $600 for exactly this. So, you know, anyway, point taken.